talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you.
Good evening. Welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It's the Fans Forum. Delighted to say I'm joined tonight at the minute by George, Kevin and Darren. Good evening, lads.
Hello, lads.
Good to see you, lads. And first of all, we're just going to send our thoughts and prayers with the family of Christian Atsu, former Newcastle United player who is currently, we're led to believe, trapped in the rubble in the earthquake that we've seen in Turkey today. Obviously, hopes and prayers with Atsu's family. Let's hope that him and his agent survive that and come out unscathed. But tragic circumstances that, obviously, if we hear anything, we will let you know.
Just to say, Steve, in my opinion, when he did play for it, wasn't regularly, he gave his all, in my opinion. The lad tried his best for us, and that's saying a lot. That's saying
top class player. Was at the club at a bit of a ropey time, but he always give his all. And as I can see already in the chat, there's a few people sending on similar thoughts. In other news today, of course, Manchester City are surprised at the alleged breaches of the Premier League rules. Looks like the Premier League are delving back into their accounts, going back at least 9 or 10 years. Extensive engagement and vast amount of detailed materials that the Premier League has been provided with. Let's see what happens with that. And of course, in other news, Leeds United have sacked the man with a high waistband on his trousers, Jesse Marsh. Has now gone from the Premier League. Another managerial casualty. Leeds are out of the relegation zone, of course, on goal difference. They're in 17th place, but without a win in the last 7 games. Marsh won only 11 of his 37 games in charge at Leeds since succeeding Bielsa. Maybe it was better the devil you know. Leeds, though, I'm sure will be quick to act on bringing a new manager in. Today was also the day when Newcastle United Wembley tickets went on sale. If you've managed to get your tickets, let us know. How easy was it? Did you find it easy? I did go on this morning myself to see if I could see if there was a glitch in the system, because obviously I can get mine today, but my dad and my brother can't get theirs till Wednesday. But unfortunately, there wasn't a glitch in the system, so I'm going to have to. I'll try again tomorrow, of course. But Wednesday for me looks when I can get them. But let us know if you had any cock-ups, any problems with it. Be interested to know. But George, we'll start with football. And Newcastle United won, West Ham won at the weekend. It was, a point, and looking at the results after they all came in at the weekend, it was a point gained on Manchester, a point gained on Manchester City, a point gained on Arsenal, a point gained on Liverpool and Chelsea, who are chasing us, of course. But Manchester United probably the biggest beneficiary at the weekend.
Yes, without a doubt. However, again, we had made enough chances to win 2 matches, never mind 1, and we just need to be clinical, more clinical than we are at the moment, and that's what's been missing. There were some good performances, some exciting performances for me. Gordon's cameo suggests that he's going to be an important player for us. That 15 minutes. I've mentioned yesterday was that I have this thing about people get on the backs of young players, so the young players try harder and they make even more mistakes. Well, it could be much more pressure than Gordon yesterday than he had, because on Saturday rather than he had. I mean, his debut before Full House, for me, he was great. The pace, the lot really got stuck in. So I'm excited at what he can produce in the future. Callum Wilson's nearly there. I'm not going to say he's there. He came very close to a hat trick, really. And had he been there, his sharpest, we would have had a hat trick, because at least 2 of those chances, if he'd been really where he was before the break, 2 of those chances would have went in, because he'd have put them in before defender got anywhere near him. So he just needs that little bit sharpen up. And the usual people did their things, like Trippier and Botman for once wasn't man of the match for me, because normally he is for me, but he still was steady, and Shah as well. So yeah, we came up against the West Ham that did actually put a shift in for their manager, and for the first time I saw Declan Rice, for what the pundits have been telling me for the last 2 years, is a brilliant defensive midfielder. He was man of the match for me on Saturday. He was really outstanding, and I've got to say it. I saw the man that the pundits have been trying to tell me was there for at least a couple of years. So lots of positives, a great turnout, and one slightly negative thing. I was more than disappointed at the end, where there were actually one or two people who booed the team off the pitch. I can't understand that. That really is. Can they not? These people mustn't have memories that at least 5 of that team couldn't get a game under the previous regime, and yet they're performing at the top of the league now. And 2 of the players on the pitch on Saturday, the previous regime wouldn't even talk to them, never mind give them a game of football. So, Howie, shake your heads, lads. This is us fighting at the top of the league and not the other end.
Well said, George.
Because I suspect...
Very well said, George.
Well, the thing is, are these people who had been in the middle of the league with 40 points would be saying, well, at least we're not going to get relegated. Well, sod that. We're going for the top, man. We're going for the top. So, yeah, get over yourselves and give the lads a chance. Give the lads a chance.
Darren, what was your take on the game at the weekend?
I watched your program last night. Again, I was walking out. I wasn't too disappointed, to be fair. 40 points. This stage of the season, what's the complaint about? We're playing much better football. And then, like George says, people booing. Like, was it loads? You just a couple of boos. You're like, well, why are you booing for? We didn't win, fair dues. But yes, Callum Wilson should have had definitely 2 goals with a head in the second half. He should have scored.
Yeah.
But it's like you said on Saturday, Steve. We're ahead of schedule. We're way ahead of schedule as it is, as you know that. But we're there on merit. But I wasn't too disappointed, Steve. We didn't win another draw. We didn't get beat. But the players are trying. They're working the socks off. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sam didn't have a great game, mind you. That was his chance yesterday on Saturday to prove something. He didn't really prove nothing to me. I think I would start going on Saturday against Bournemouth. But neither stood out had a good game with Newcastle. But again, I think we were a bit leggy in the second half. Amron was well leggy in the second half. But I was like booing like George hitting me on the head. Get a grip yourselves.
Yeah. Okay. Kev, we did have a degree of success in America, though, didn't we?
We did. I only watched 45 minutes of it in a bar somewhere in between games, but I come back home with this thing from my under 12s.
Well done,
Champions.
Exactly right. I'll share some pictures with you and stuff like that. But yeah, like a trip to Southampton and back for a weekend away. But we played 4 games. Like I said, scored 15 goals, conceded 1. So and we went unbeaten, and it was fantastic for them because we only had 2 training sessions and whatever. So it was a nice little foundation to go on. But going back to the real game, I guess. I thought it was a great start, going 1-0 up, but at the same time, I thought we took the foot off the pedal, and I thought we dropped in a little bit and we didn't play with the intensity that was started with. I thought, and I agree with George, I thought Declan Rice, for the bits that I've seen for the first 45 minutes, I thought he was fantastic. He just nullified our midfield. Nothing could go through him, and he just broke play up, and that's what a world-class defensive midfielder does. But I've seen some of the extended highlights. The chances that we had, the little mini cameo from Gordon looks exciting and promising. But yeah, so again, it's just that the midfield area for me. And I heard you, Steve, say last night a little bit. That's where the game was going to be won or lost a little bit, and that was going to be a key integral part of the game, and it proved to be. And they just shut us down. The goal we conceded was poor defensively, in my opinion. I thought we could have won the first header, but hey, it is what it is. And I agree with Darren. Look, we're fourth. We've got 40 points. It's not the end of the world.
Kevin as well.
It's this instant gratification of it. I didn't hear any boos. Obviously, I didn't see the second half or the end of the game. If you're booing and whatever, it's like, well, the you have to have that gratification. Or we'll have to win every time. We'll have to have that. We feel the need. We'll have to win every game. Well, no, we don't, because other teams are trying to do exactly the same to us. So it's a decent game of football. A little disappointed, but at the end of the day, it's night and we'll move on. We'll go to Bournemouth and we'll see what happens down there.
Yeah, Alan. As I know you like to go on to other clubs' podcasts. Have you been venturing onto West Ham's forums in the last week?
Well, basically after the game, obviously they're static, Steve, about getting a point, and they thought it was one of the best performances of the season. To be honest with you, Steve, I've been more on Tottenham, and they're going from one low to a high is unbelievable. Now they're going to be in the Champions League, and everything's rosy in the garden, and Levy's all right till next week, But go on to George's point about booing and that. People have got to realise this is what makes the Premier League so hard to win. It's the toughest league in the world, lads. West Ham weren't going to roll down and die. No team is. Next week against Bournemouth, it's going to be really tough. I think people have got this, they go into this shell that they go all week and go, well, we should beat West Ham because they're fifth bottom. We should beat Bournemouth because they're second bottom. It's not like that.
It's when people are saying, oh, if Newcastle wants top four, Newcastle never said it at all. Whenever Newcastle said they won top four, they've never said it once. All of what they've got a plan, and we're punching above our weight. They're taking each game as it comes. It's just like people, Newcastle won top four. Well, when has Newcastle said they won top four? They've never said that. They want to win every game to get us wrong, but yourself, lads, it's impossible.
Yeah.
See, down for me, Steve, and the lads, it's disappointing. I was disappointed. Don't get us wrong. After the game, I was, but it's the fact that most of the sides below got beat, and it's an opportunity to break away. The middle-ranked teams like Liverpool, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, they all got beat, and you thought, what a great opportunity to put more points away from them. And that's where the disappointment stems from. We all are. Don't get us wrong. I'm not denying that. I was disappointed.
I wasn't, Alan, because we didn't play well, but just compared to last season, we're really hoping to get a 3-pointer.
Right.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? How far we've come in a year's time? We only had 15 points or something. We're begging for 3 points. But to be February, to be 40 points, the magic number to be safe in the league, in the top half, I just can't understand what's, like, my opinion, people's overreacting. Like, we didn't do that. We're not winning. It's a crisis. I hate to say on the loop, people are going to have a meltdown.
It's 16 games unbeaten, isn't it? It's 16 games unbeaten, lads,
I know, but Ken, that goes to Eddie Howe in the backroom staff. And lads, yourself, lad, would like jokes and people booing, and you're like, oh, yeah, man, get a grip, man. Yeah. We're not playing bad. We're not at the race, but we played in midweek, and we're tired. Well, in the second half, in my opinion, you could tell we're tired in the second half, like a bit leggy. When the midfield to come on, centre midfield to come on for Joe Linton or long Ellie Anderson come on, didn't get wrong, but we didn't have that finesse in midfield to come on the pitch.
And it would have been emotional as well, lads, after getting to the final. The amount of pressure after Tuesday, you're on a high. I know myself, lads, I'm not bragging, but after a race, if you've had a good race, you're on a high for 24 hours, and it's hard to come down from that high to now focus on the next game or race, wherever it is. I agree with you, Darren. I know there was a lot of people on ESM's back, lads, but I think we've got to give him time till the summer, because he's only had one full game now in the last few months. I think we should give him time. He was rusty, and yes, he didn't have a good game, but I think people have got to remember that Trippier helps out Miggy so much Dan Burn offers very little going forward to help ESM out. And that's where, if you've got an overlapping fullback coming on to play, it takes a defender away. And so ESM's got 3 defenders on him straight away, or 1 on him even, and he's got to break that down. If you work out the attack, it's very hard. Where Trippier bombs down that right-hand side, and Miggy can exploit that. Where ESM there, he looked like a lost soul. I must admit, I agree, he had a poor game, but I think you've got to give him a run the team. And I think I'll just end with this, Steve. Obviously, Eddie Howe's looking at the cup final and thinking, I've got to get this lad in the team because Gordon's cup tied anyway. So give him a run out for 2 or 3 games. And then after the cup final, if he still hasn't improved, then Gordon comes into play then after that. But I'll leave it at that. But yes, I was disappointed. But as far as the Bruins concerned, I think basically people have got to give the lads a total break. And I totally agree with George and the rest of the lads. And by the way, Botman's still never been beaten in 20 games in the Premier League. That must be a record of some kind, Steve.
Got to be some kind of record, yeah, 100%. Donald, I saw you nodding with most of what Alan was saying there. Yeah. What was your take on the match of the weekend, mate?
Yeah, obviously, first 5 minutes, we came out the blocks like greyhounds at Brough Park. But after that, we sort of we went a bit flat. And as regards ASM, yeah, you can tell he needs minutes under his belt. If he's lacking match fitness, and that shows.
And confidence, Donald. And confidence.
Yeah, he's lacking confidence. And also, we missed our conductor in midfield, obviously suspended. But as regards the summer shopping transfer list, we need a backup to Bruno, somebody who can, foot on the ball and, dictate play. We didn't have that because the midfielders we got, they don't do that.
Declan Rice will do Declan Rice will do the job.
I was going to say, Declan Rice,
yeah. I mean, that would be ideal if we get him. Plus point, Gordon coming on.
He's destination Arsenal, though, Declan Rice.
Yeah. What's his name? Anthony Gordon coming on, and there, I tell you what, looks a player. When he came on, I felt the tempo went up. The tempo of our play was a lot better because he got things going. And in the second half, we were unlucky not to come away with 3 points. If Wilson had got that target, that header either side, I think we would have come back with 3 points. But not disappointed. 40 points this stage of the season. In the past, we were panicking, thinking we only know this many games to get the 40 points. We've got this many games, we'll get the 40 points. But 40 points, we've got a springboard to, improve our points tally. And, we're fourth. We're there on merit. We've done better than any of us on here expected this season. We've got to a cup final. We're in the top half. We're in Champions League places. Happy days. Let's keep our seat belts on. The ride's begun. Let's enjoy it. Simple.
Harry, good evening, mate.
Hello, lads. You all right?
Yeah, good to see you, mate. Go on and give us your match assessment.
I was going to say it's crap when works gets in the way of talking about Newcastle, mind. Again, I think it pointed out how much, like the guy just said there, Bruno missing that creativity just isn't there without him. And it's like, I mean, at one stage, ESM would have been that. He would have been the outlet for that creativity spark. And he doesn't look interested, guys. I know I probably regret saying this because you get thumped off the ESM supporters. But the guy doesn't look as though he wants to be there. I know he flatters to deceive. He's got the ability and he just hasn't got the get up and go. I can't believe this is the same guy who did all the stuff for the food bank. He went round, he bought all the kids' stuff in the toy shop that he was like doing all this stuff in Newcastle. He was Newcastle through and through, and he just doesn't look as though he wants to be there. He's just, and I think without that spark, as much as I enjoy the midfielders that we've got, the Longstaffs, the Willock, they're not Bruno. There isn't anybody else like him in the team. I was thinking on the way home, I was thinking, what's the difference between what we're doing now and when they picked up injuries with the Entertainers team? We always compare the two together. And the Entertainers had 3 or 4 people like that. You know, you had your Ginola, who was a maverick. You had your Beardsley, who was unbelievably skillful. You had Tino, who would just run around people and would leave them for dead. That's what this team hasn't got. It's got athletes, but it hasn't got that unique brand of footballer. That's what we're missing. I mean, I totally agree. Gordon looked class. I was waiting for somebody to show flash, but it never came. Yeah, this is the guy we wanted to sign. This is he in what 15 minutes he outshone ESM's 3/4 of the match.
Yeah, totally did.
Yeah, absolutely.
More touches.
Wilson, Wilson was unlucky.
Solomon Sunday.
I was over the moon for Wilson's goal because I think he is our main goal threat, and it was great to see him score. Unlucky with the header. Any other day it would have gone in the back of the net. I don't know if he's mentioned it because obviously I'm just getting in. Would that team against West Ham beat Man United? No. I don't think it would. And it worries me that Bruno comes back for that game. He's got a slot straight back in. I know they'll be practicing in training and everything else from coming back in, but he's the only difference really between that side and what will play Man U. And is he enough to beat Man United?
Barry. We've got Isaac as well to come in.
Yeah, I mean Isaac and Gordon added to the team as well, maybe, but that side against West Ham didn't look capable of beating Man United, much as I don't want to say it.
When Wilson got put through of Gordon, to me, you can see how much pace he's lost. If that was Isak, Avi would have scored that all day long. Wilson,
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Avi, he's lost his bit pace. Wilson, you'd see when Gordon played. If that was Isak, he would have been way.
And it was in the back of the net if it was Isak.
Yeah, but it just shows you Wilson hasn't got that little bit of pace, but he's lost.
There was a tackle on.
Sorry, George. Go ahead, George.
Tackle on Wilson towards the end of the game where the West Ham's new centre back got a tackle in and kicked the ball for a corner. The Wilson that we had before the break would have had that in the back of the net before the defender got the tackle in.
Yeah,
yeah.
Just a yard, just a half a yard slow.
Yeah.
But
you think you should have moved in front of him though, George, as a forward? You know, when the ball went through, shouldn't he use his body to go forward in front of the defender? So the defender would have had to make a foul, and that's where he lost it. And made that split second going forward.
Well, I go back to what I said. The Wilson before the break would have had that at the back of the net before the defender got near him.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the Scousers is the one for me. That will show how we're going to do in the cup final.
Yeah.
Because I think Bournemouth will be an easier game. I think we'll turn over Bournemouth, but whether or not we can beat Liverpool, it's another thing.
Barry, I'm going to start with you on this one. Sam Handwich asked this question. Isak and Gordon must start ahead of Wilson and Maxi in the next game. Do you think, well, I mean, first of all, do you agree with that comment? But secondly, do you think Eddie Howe is going to do that?
I think Gordon's got to be knocking on the door. I don't think I would play St. Max, full stop. Me personally, I think that was his chance to show. I know you said it on the Three Amigos when I watched it back. That was his, the show yesterday, Steve. That was Max's chance to shine.
I tell you where I'm at with this before I come to you then, Kevin. For me personally, I would agree with Sam Handwich. I would say Isak in and Gordon in. I tell you why it's not going to happen, because you won't want to upset the equilibrium in the dressing room. You won't want to upset that. He's a man manager. How I think ASM realizes he's in the last chance saloon, and we've now seen exactly what we've seen exactly what it means to him. It doesn't really mean a great deal. I think ASM will get one more chance against Bournemouth. I think if he lets himself down against Bournemouth, I think he'll be out. I think he'll start with the same team that started at the weekend, unless there's any injuries. I think it'll be very much the same. But I think if there is a lack of effort again from ASM, or there's a lack of creativity, etc., I think he'll be out on his ear for the Liverpool game. I think he'll go with I think he'll go with Gordon, and I think depending on what Wilson does. Wilson scored. He could have had a hat trick at the weekend. Wilson's position's safe, I think. So unless he's got a niggle or whatever, but I think ASM may drop out of the team if there's not a man of the match performance against Bournemouth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've all said it's up to him at the end of the day. What does he want? How does he want to approach this? And again, from what I've seen, he was dribbling and running down. He was like Anthony from Man United. He was going down one-way streets and couldn't get out, and give the ball away, and he gives sloppy possession away. Yes, we had Dan Burn come around and disagree with Alan a little bit with the tactics thing, just slightly, not in a bad way, but Dan Burn was constantly, ASM was dropping deep, Dan Burn was creating an overlap and creating an overload down that side. That's similarly what we do down on the right-hand side, but Dan Burn hasn't got the pace. I mean, it was very minimal. It was rare when that happened because of the.
Do you not think Dan Burn didn't trust ESM for covering though? That's
what I'm saying. It was minimal, but when it happened, ASM dropped in. But again, when he got it deep, he was reluctant to give Dan Burn that ball. And if it's on the other side,
we see the couple of times.
And he just gave it. Dan Burn probably would have just stopped doing it because I'm not making that run down the left, and I'm not going to get this thing. So we're exposed. But going back to it, I would give him one more go. Just give him one more chance at Bournemouth and see do you really want to play for this football club? Because I think he's throwing. I think he's down tools essentially. Not that I don't like the player. I think he's a great player. I think on his day he could win a game for you. But at the same time, I just don't think he's. We talk about heart. I don't think his heart's in it. I don't think he really believes that he can be the player that he was. I think he was the big fish in a small pond not too long ago. But now he's got other players around him where he's, where do I fit in here? So I think I agree with Steve. I think we'll go with the same 11, but it's all on you, son. You've got to go and put a performance in. I'm not worried about his attacking ability. I'm more worried about his defensive responsibilities because I think he's pretty lazy, to be honest. I think he'll just stand there. I mean, I've seen one part of the highlight where Dan Burn was pressing high in the second half and he won the ball. I can't remember the passage of play or whatever, but he was the highest, furthest player forward on the left side and pressing higher. But that's what he should be doing. But he's not doing it. He just stands there and moves around and has a pity party, what we see over here. So, yeah, just give him one more crack at the whip and see what happens. And I agree with what Alan said earlier. You've got to give him time. But how much time do you give him? When you've got somebody, i.e. Gordon, who can quite happily play on that left side, who'll give you a lot more energy. And that ball, what you said just moments ago about the ball to Wilson and Jordan with the pace of Wilson and things like that, I totally agree. But I have to say that was a fabulous ball. And that was a fabulous challenge from the defender. Yes, I agree with the pace of Wilson, but you've got to look at it as to where in the time of the game, Callum Wilson's been playing X amount of minutes. In the first half, he just ran with the long step ball when he scored. That's the Callum Wilson we know. That's why we're born. But later, deeper in the game, has he got those energy levels? Has he got fitness, whatever? But yeah, so I agree, but I see it from different sides, and I agree with Alan. And with the second touch, you take it on the inside and create the foul. But again, that recovery run from the defender was fantastic. I mean, it's one of the tackles of the season, to be honest, But at the same time, I think again, agreeing with George, he should have scored that. To be fair, he should have took the shot a little earlier. But yeah, again, going back to ASM, I would just give him one more crack at the whip.
Steve Middlemiss, I'll give you this, mate. You are, still very defensive of ESM, and rightly so, because for me, it can't be one-sided on this show. It always sounds as if we're having a witch hunt against them, but it's just down to the fact that it's the public opinion. I think more and more people are disappointed with them. But Steve says you've got to play an attacking left back with ESM. It's totally unfair when you look at the right-hand side. Dan Burn's not a great passer of the ball. So, go on then, Kev, say what you need to say, because Steve is a big ASM fan.
I disagree with that, to be honest. I think Dan Burn keeps it simple, to be fair.
Okay.
He gives it. He receives it off Botman. He opens up, pings it into Maxi, into one of the number 8s, if it's Willock or whoever it is shown to receive the ball inside. Then he'll get the ball out wide to Maxi. Then if he'll create that overload on that side and make an overlap, well, okay, that's his job. But yes, he's not perfect. We all give the ball away. It is what it is. But at the same time, I think that's one of the games that's kind of underrated. The party games is underrated. So I disagree with that, to be honest. But I appreciate the opinion, but at the same time, I don't.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And Steve is very, very defensive of ESM. He's clearly a big fan. Keith Patterson's the same. ESM's had many a chance, says Andrew. He isn't going to change now. He isn't good enough for what we want at the club now. Sell him. He's had 3 years to get it right. He just splits opinion, doesn't he, Alan?
Yeah.
Well, that's it, lads. I mean, getting back to Kevin, if you notice the first 20 minutes of the game, lads, all attacks were on the right-hand side. Yeah. Now, do the team not trust him either? You know what I mean? It was, if you recall the game, first 20 minutes, all attacks were with Trippier and Miggy. To be honest, so there you go. I think, getting back to the question, I think Eddie Howe, like you, Steve, was stick to the same team. And does anybody think ESM will be at the club this time in August?
I'll be away.
I think you'll be away.
I'll be away.
Yeah. If you think about it, I think 80% will be thinking ESM will not be here at the start of next season. So I think Howe's plan is give him a run the team. If he doesn't show, then everybody in the chat and watching, and the lads here in the studio, all over here, lads, we're all going to say he wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
I think this is his last chance saloon, the next few games, and then, or even till the end of the season, lads. And if he doesn't perform, he'll be sold. He'll be sold without a doubt. So that's my opinion. And regarding the defender, Kevin, West Ham defender, he was class in the World Cup. Absolutely class in the World Cup. And he got injured, and West Ham have never hardly seen him, as he would have been recognised even more. He's just come back from injury, and he looks a class defender. And it was a great defending tackle. If I was a West Ham fan, I would think that was brilliant, So in defence of Wilson, like it was in the first goal, was brilliantly taken by Wilson early doors. So again, Steve, I think it'll be the same team against Bournemouth. I really do. And I think Gordon will be slightly going in, just getting put in, just like Bruno and just like every other player, just bedded into the team. And then after the cup final, if ESM has done nothing in the cup final in the next 2 games, I think that's when Gordon will start after the cup final, in my opinion. But Isaac will be on the bench, I think, with the concussion side of it. I think Isaac will be on the bench on Saturday.
Yeah, me too. Donald, what's your thoughts? ESM again causing lots of chat in the chat. ESM gets doubled up on and the ball taken off him. This leaving Burn to try and defend that. Miggy gets back and helps Trippier all the time, says Derek. David says, could we give Big Dan Burn a rest maybe and play Trippier on the left and Ashby on the right? I've got to be honest, David, I think Trippier needs a rest. PDK says, I love ESM, but Gordon and Miggy make more sense, unfortunately. Mark Pearson says, Dan Burn was left one-on-one loads of times against West Ham. He's never exposed like that when Joe Linton is playing left side instead of ESM. Steve Middlemas says, how many twos does Miggy and Trips I think how many times maybe. And Andrew says, I've also noticed that, Alan, in response to Alan's point, says if the team, it's almost as if the team doesn't like playing with them. So Donald, lots of conversations. Whenever we mention ESM on here, I'm afraid it always ends up like this. But it's frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, he's one way from he's an what's the word, enigma, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's a case of you don't know which ESM is going to turn up come the first whistle, but it's, as everybody's alluded to and just mentioned there in the chat, it's all down to him. Does he want to be part of this project, or does he want to ply his trade elsewhere? Only he knows that. We don't know that. But while he's here, while he's wearing our black and white stripes or change kit, whatever, he has to, put the effort in. And yeah, obviously give him another chance. I mean, West Ham, he hadn't played for a full game for a while, so give him another chance against Bournemouth. And if he doesn't come up with the goods, then I'm afraid there's a young man from Merseyside waiting in the wings to take his place. So, yeah, it's all down to him. Does he want to be here, be part of the project, be part of success in the future, or does he want to go and play in some tin pot league like Serie A or something like that? But it's all down to the player at the end of the day. Where's his head at?
We've got an invasion of dogs. Kevin's dogs come on and Darren's dogs come on.
Champion.
Hello.
Darren,
At least it's black and white.
yeah, yours is black and white. I love it.
At least they're not dogs with a funny haircut.
Yeah, they don't look like Steve. They don't look like Steve Acey. Darren, go on.
There's a few good points there. Like, I think Dan Burns improved in playing left back. He stands in the right place. Kevin says he stands in the right place now. He's learned that in the short term. He stands in the right place. He knows where to go forward. He knows where to go back. And like Kev said, I think he's too scared to go forward because he knows he's got to do ESM will not trap back and help. But in the first half, I watched ESM. He kind of passed the ball all the time. He done not wrong first half, but the second half, he's seen the wrong side of him. In the second half, he didn't trap back a few times, and then he didn't work hard. He works hard on all these bandages on his legs and and he's wrapping up. He works hard on making sure that's all nice and tidy. To be fair to him, but
he's got more bandages than a dummy, hasn't he, John? He's got more bandages than a dummy.
I know. I can't agree with Steve. I think ESM is a man manager. And it all depends how he's in training this week. If he gives 100%, he'll play on Saturday. And I think he'll be in the team. But it's all on him. He's got 2 games to prove himself for the final. If he wants it enough, he's got to do something in the next 2 games. Yeah. He didn't do it on Saturday. So we all know that. Well, my opinion, and that's what we say, but it's just my opinion personally. He didn't do enough on Saturday. But I do think Wilson will play on Saturday. He scored a goal, so I think Eddie will not drop Wilson because he'll unsettle and make a lot of unhappy people, I think, in the team. But I think he'll go to the same team personally, lads, on Saturday. Yeah. But it's on ESM. He's got to want it now. If he wants to play in the cup final, he's got to go out and show the next 2 games. He's got to show it. But it's on him.
Okay, George, ESM, we spoke a little bit about it in the last couple of nights as well. But, it was the question from Sam Hambridge, wasn't it? Would you play Gordon and Isak against Bournemouth? Would you start with them?
Isn't it frustrating when we've got a player that everybody on here thinks is probably one of the most talented players we've got, and yet he cannot produce it on the pitch on a Saturday often enough. Now and again, but not often enough, and that's the problem. It needs to be more consistent if he wants to be part of what's happening at St James's Park. I think Howe will keep the same 11 starting on Saturday, but until half time. And if ASM isn't producing the goods by half time, Anthony Gordon will be on, and maybe Isak as well. But I reckon you're right, Steve. You don't want to upset things too much, and he play the same starting 11. But if it isn't working by half time, then ESM will get the hook. I think there's any doubt about that in my mind. But it is so frustrating to have that talent. And the best thing I can say about him from Saturday was he made a couple of good tackles. Well, I want him to defend when it's necessary. But what I want him to be doing is hitting the onion bag at the other end of the pitch. That's what I want. And it's so frustrating when you know fine well that he has the talent to do it. I mean, that goal against Wolves that he scored way back. Yeah. I mean,
I was there.
There's not many people in the Premiership could do that.
It was a great goal.
Absolutely fantastic.
Man City as well, George.
Man City.
Absolutely. But we want to see it more regularly, more consistently.
But he doesn't do it enough. He doesn't do enough.
It's not
he wants to play it, doesn't he?
Yeah, not consistent, Darren. And I think I said on Friday night that I thought that to me, he looked like somebody that was either not wanting to be here, or we've had it in the past with good players. Looked like a man wanting to transfer.
Steve Middleman says we've got short memory, and Steve, listen, I'm all for everyone's opinion on here. I think we've all accepted that. What I'll say to you, mate, is that, you know, clearly Mark Pearson says here we rely on a fast press, trying to force the opposition to play a long high ball that will be fired straight back at them by Byrne, Botman or Shaw. ASM allows teams to play the ball out. Clearly, what's happened here is Eddie Howe's come in. He's got his own formation. It doesn't fit ASM's style of play. And that's the problem. And it's never going to change, because how he's going to play that formation, and he's getting found out time and time again. And yeah, in our minds, you know, we don't know what he's thinking in his mind. I would look at it from a fan's point of view and say he was a star player in a poor team, and I always compare him a bit to Kieran Dyer, who was a star player in a poor team. As soon as you start putting better players in, then the frailties are shown, and they're there for all to see, and that other player suddenly becomes less important. And when you go from being a star player to having to become a team player, I don't think everybody can cope with that. And I might be completely wrong.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
It's his mentality. It's his mentality. That's what it comes down to. Your mentality.
We've all got ego.
The main man in the team to not being in the team at all. And I think like his mentality as well. I'm not playing this week, so I'm not going to work hard and train, or he's got to come on and not try hard enough. His mentality of like he's ambitious, he's not hungry enough to want it. If I was like playing football, if I was bench, I would if I'm coming on, I'm gonna bust the gut and show him manager he's done something wrong.
I'm thankful for everything ASM's done, by the way.
Yes. Oh yeah,
I am thankful.
And I'm not going to say he's done nothing. He's done loads for Newcastle. It's just now he's been like you said, Steve. He's been kind of found out, and he's like kept saying, his mentality. Does he want it enough? I don't think he does. He's went from being the main man to not the main man, and like Eddie Howe's built a unity in the players who's playing every week. Work, committed, and hard work. Yeah. And
as I said before, it's so frustrating that we've got this huge talent that just doesn't appear on a Saturday, and that's hugely frustrating.
We had the same problem, Steve, 30 years ago with Ginola. I know I'm going down memory lane, lads. I'll be short and sweet. I was at Anfield that night. John Beresford was going apeshit. You wouldn't have seen it on the TV. Ginola would not track back. The week after, Beresford was hauled off by Keegan because Ginola simply wouldn't help him out, and he got substituted after half an hour. And we won the game 1-0 against Aston Villa the week after. But that game with Ginola and Beresford that night, when we got beat 4-3, and I was, devastated like we all were. And I'll always remember that until I die. I'll remember Beresford shouting at Ginola all night, and Ginola was exactly the same as ASM. Exactly the same.
I'm going to try and combine these before into like our last post. Sefton Mag said, "Are we expecting far too much, far too soon? Are we not giving ourselves far too much pressure and expectations? We are in a domestic cup final after all." And George said, "I just think it's a little concerning from a league point of view. Since Leicester league game, we've drawn 4 and won 1, only scoring 2 goals in the league. Have the cup games impacted on that?" So combine that, George. Just has the cup run affected the league form a little bit? And are we expecting too much, George?
Well, I think it has. You'd have to say that the evidence is that the last 2 games we've died in the second half. There's no question about it, and that could only be from the huge amount of energy and emotion that's gone into this cup run. And it does have an impact. It's bound to. And you can go all the way back to the 50s when we're winning the cup every other year. Same thing there. They were in a position to win the cup. They were in a position to win the league. And after a big cup match, they lost a simple league game against nobody. And the same things, I think, we haven't lost, but the energy, there's a slight change in the energy, in my opinion. And you saw towards the end of the second half on Saturday, and you did in the previous game as well. But as to What was that bit? The question, Steve? Sorry, Emmy.
Are we expecting too much too soon?
No. Yes. We're football supporters. We want a team to win, and when we see our team winning, we want to see them keep on winning. And sadly, I'm like all those lads that want a little bit more. I'm a greedy little duck. I want to see Newcastle at the top and in the cup. So yes, I think we maybe are, but the bit about that is that the players have given me that expectation. They've performed out of their skins, and some of them, as I said at the beginning, remember that there's lads on that pitch who the previous regime wouldn't even talk to, never mind give them a game of football. There's at least 5 lads on that pitch who just couldn't get a game off the previous regime, and yet they're stars now, absolutely bursting. I mean, Fabian Shaw at the moment is incredible. The same Fabian Shaw just over a year ago, the manager wouldn't put him in the team. He was kicking his heels at the training ground. He couldn't even get in the squad and anything else. So yes, we are expecting a bit too much, maybe, but the players have given us that expectation because of their performances, and I think as football fans, that's what you like. You want your team to do better and better and better, and that's only natural. So if there's the odd hiccup on the way, like Saturday, if that was a hiccup, then you've got to live with it and not start reacting in a totally negative fashion. I think a simple win on Saturday, for example, at Bournemouth, and it's funny how people will suddenly think we're back on track, whereas I think the answer is yes. I do think the cup run has affected it. It always does. And I do think also that we're expecting too much. But they've given us those expectations by performing out of their skins, and long may it continue.
Darren, I mean, you mentioned earlier, we've hit 40 points. Christ, that would have been a massive 40 points, and we're only halfway through the season, really, and we're in a cup final. I'm certainly not expecting too much. I'm delighted with where we are, but has that cup run jaded us a little bit because we haven't really got a big enough squad?
I think you just hit the nail on the head there, Steve. To be fair, our squad's not massive, and it shows you against Chef Wedge, where we put our second string team in, and they didn't win. They didn't play dreadful, did they? At least we had some sort of go at them. But again, last year, you were looking at the bottom half of the league. You're like, well, hopefully they'll get beat, and hopefully we'll get something there, get a point there, get a win. But it's went from you look at the top of the league now. You well, they got beat. That'll do us. If we win, we go say 12 points, 13 points clear in 4th place at Chelsea and Liverpool. And you're like, what a massive turnaround! George hit it on head. It's just it's the players are making the fans want too much, but it's on merit where we are in the league. But we all want to win every game, but win every game, win every cup, we all want to win every cup, we all want a league cup, we all want to win the league. But unless we're invincibles, we're not going to do it. It's where we'll lose the game. Everybody's going to jump on the bandwagon. Oh, he's rubbish. Eddie Howe done that wrong. However, people need to make or smell the coffee at least. It's not possible at the minute to win every game. We're all going to lose eventually a couple of years in the trot, and I dread to say what people are going to say about it. But at the minute, people need to just enjoy the rest of the season. 40 points, you can't have gone wrong.
No, definitely not. Don't know. It's we're in a cup final, but it has affected us. I think there is tiredness. I could easily point and say Kieran Trippier. I mean, he was to blame for the goal at the weekend. But misplaced passes. Dan Burns done it a little bit. I mean, the back fours perform miracles. There is going to be tiredness, and we can't really rest these people.
No, again, that comes down to squad depth. I mean, in the Premier League, it's a squad game. It's not about your first 11. It's about what's the 23 you've got at your disposal. If the first 11, if somebody's suspended or injured, can the sort of second 11, people from the second 11, step up and do a good job? That's what we want, but we ain't got that yet. That will come, and and since the Premier League started, I always said, squad game. It's not about having just a strong first 11. You need a strong 20. What is it? 25-man squad now. Yeah, a strong 25-man squad where somebody from that second pool of players can step up. And also, you've got to remember, players are only human. They're not sci-fi term here. They're not cyborgs. That they'll keep on going and going and going. They make mistakes. Things happen. I think all of us on here in the chat, deep down, we are so happy. We'll be happy what has happened this season. I think all of us at the start were thinking 7th, 8th, but
top
of the league, top of the league, Champions League places in a domestic cup final, and if we, bring back that trophy, that has been, progress. And obviously, come the summer, sponsors coming in, it's Thunderbirds are go, it's lift up, isn't it? Come the summer, so. That's what I'll say on that. Alan?
Well, I agree with the majority of what the lads have said. No, I don't think we're expecting too much, lads. Second place is up for grabs. And now with that game finishing, and I was down in the dumps, I thought we've gained a point on Man City. We're only 5 points off Man City. Lads, they've got to play Arsenal twice. Who's to say Arsenal's not going to beat them both times? I think. Rachel, I totally agree with Rachel. I want Champions League and a trophy. Why not?
Yeah.
You've got to embrace the pressure, lads, because, like I said at the semi-final, next year, we will not want to be in a semi-final of the FA Cup and go to the final. The pressure is always going to be there. In 9 games' time, lads, if we're still in the top 4, there's going to be pressure. All of us as fans are going to feel the pressure, never mind the players, because we're that desperate to get in the top 4. So, no, I don't think pressure. You've got to embrace the pressure as footballers, because surely you want to be the best you can be as a footballer and say, hey, I'm good enough to be in the top 4. So, answer your question, Steve, plain and simple. No, I'm not expecting too much. But I agree with Donald. Anybody here, I think 7th, I've always said 7th, anything above that's been absolutely amazing. And if we win a trophy on top of that. One of the questions, Steve, was saying I would have qualification then a trophy. I've always said it, whether it's my age, Steve, I want to say win a trophy, because that will never be taken away from you, lads. In 20 years' time, we won the League Cup in the year 2023. And God forbid, God help we, I hope we do. And then it can't get taken away. 20 years down the line, nobody will remember we're finishing 4th in the league. Yeah. It'll just be another season where we finish high in the league. If you win a trophy, it's there forever, lads. It's there forever. So a trophy every time of the week for me.
Absolutely.
But I want both.
Oh, me too. Just a little side note here about ASM interview that's just been published in the Chronicle about AC Milan's interest. He went, when Milan, this is a direct quote from Maxi. It says, when Milan's interest was put to him, St. Maximin said, I'll be honest, I'm not going to lie. When you were in that situation, a lot of teams can see it. A lot of teams see it as an opportunity to come and buy the player. But I'm very proud to be here. And the most important thing for me is to play. And I will always try to be in a position where I play every game. I don't play football to be on the bench. But sometimes you have to understand the situation. As I said, when I was in the team, they didn't lose games and I did my job. When I was available, the team were doing well and not losing games. You need to understand that for sure. If we lose 2 games and I stay on the bench, I will never accept that situation. When the team does well, though, and when you love the players, you can't be a nice guy when you play. They're not very nice when you don't. I am not like that. I believe a lot in God, and that's why when I didn't play, I prayed for the team, because finally we were together. And if we get to the Champions League, we are going there together. So that's the most important thing. Interesting quotes there from ASM. And I'm sure that will continue to be a topic of conversation for the rest of the week. Unfortunately, we've only got 5 minutes left, Kevin, so we're not going to go back on
ASM. Keep it short. Yeah, we'll just leave that one there and let him just
Yeah.
Put
We'll let
in the
that
media.
sink in with the viewers. But
Yeah,
what's
we're
your
going to resonate on that.
what's your thoughts just on that tiredness situation? I mean, you know, the professional footballers that get paid a lot of money, they're training every day. You know, we got knocked out the FA Cup in the third round.
Yeah.
We haven't got European football. I'm afraid we're going to get a lot more tired, you know, when we qualify for Europe.
Just this again, it's the squad depth essentially, and unfortunately, he's got to find players anyhow. I mean, those players to play the way he wants to play, and it's a very high intense way. My club I work for, and we won the trophy this weekend. That's how we play, and you've got to find the players around that to facilitate what you need, and you build a team for that to happen, and it's all within. Again, squad depth, squad mentality, your training purpose, your purpose within what you got to do. But I think it has impacted us a little bit because he hasn't changed much. He's very loyal and very trustworthy of his players that haven't got him there, which I understand, I get. But at the same time, you've got to have a bit of a rotation and not move bits around, but you've got to put players in where needed, give players rest. It's a delicate balance. You can't manipulate it too much, but you can't complete, like Sheffield Wednesday have 8 changes, which was ridiculous. And look what happened. So you've got to be clever of how you do it. And look, and he's a clever man. He's an intelligent man. That, you know, look where he's got us to. So I'm not going to question that. But at the same time, that Sheffield Wednesday game, I know George has got the same opinion that it was too many. You know, you've got to be very delicate. But I think moving forward, I think if we again see what happens, again, not saying ASM with a shop window type of mentality, that's what he's in now at this point, and let's see what happens. But the summer's going to be a big summer for us. After the final, let's see what happens. Can we go on the same run like we did in the early part of the year? Not that it's a major distraction, but it's a nice distraction to have, to say, hey, look, we've got a final. This is the opportunity to take some gold home, you know, and the trophy. You know, that's your motivation, that's your psychology, how to play with your players. And again, for Maxi, even to go back to him, this is the 2 games, Bournemouth, Liverpool, to get him into that team, in my opinion. That's his. That should hit with him. If I was playing, that would be my targets. That would be my goals to get there and show from them quotes. Not going to go into it, but that's what made me be my motivation to sort of say, okay, I'm going to play in the cup final. And I'm going to win. You know, I'm going to win that.
He has another quote. It was a good comeback for me versus West Ham because I think I created some chances and I tried to help the defence and help Dan Burn a lot. We did not concede any goals in terms of set pieces. Came from a corner, and that is the most important, to do what the coach wants and give what he wants from me. Listen, go to the Chronicle website, read it. There's actually a lot. There's a lot more there, but it's well worth the read. Barry, finish up with you, mate. Just your views. I mean, is tiredness creeping in? Is it because of the cup run? And are we expecting a bit too much in our first season? You know, under Eddie Howe's, you know, a full season under Eddie Howe.
It's a hard one with a cup run. I mean, I listened to obviously all the other shows, and I agree with what George was saying the other day about the World Cup. That I think for us, we're probably one of the teams who was hit the hardest. The momentum and everything we had before the World Cup we were on an absolute high. We're then, and I totally agree with George. I would love to know what happened to Wilson while he was out there, because I seriously think that's had some sort of impact. I don't know whether it's the training that they've been doing while they were over there or what. But Trippier hasn't looked the same since he came back from the World Cup either. Thank God Pope doesn't seem to have any impact. I think we were firing on all cylinders. I think that interruption has had as much effect as anything that we've come up against in the cup games. I think the cup was a little bit hard to say, but self-inflicted because of the teams that he played, the players that he put out. Instead of going full strength, I think the cup backfired on us, and we had to do that extra effort just to get through the games because of the way Howe approached them, which I think is unusual for him to do that. But obviously he played a lot of the younger, the reserve players, if you like, in a couple of the cup games, which I think came back to bite us. Yeah. I think we are doing better than expected. But like the guys have said, Alan said it before, it's they've put us up on this pedestal. They've put us up there. It's tough now. This is what we want. We're in a cup final, for God's sake. We're going to take that risk, and fingers crossed don't get humiliated the way we have in previous cup finals in my lifetime. I wish I was George, because I would like to see them do well in the cup final. I'm still waiting for it to be long. God, I wish I'd been there for the 50s just to see. What can you do? The cup final's coming. We need to pull ourselves together. We've got 2 games to get ourselves the right frame of mind, whether that's we need Bruno back on the pitch as soon as possible. I think it probably is. Isaac's got his chance to get 2 games under his belt, or 2 hard games under his belt, and be ready and firing on all cylinders. I pray Wilson's going to get fitter, but I am concerned with what's wrong with him, because I think there's something underlying there. I think he's still as good a player as he's ever been, but I think, like you guys have said tonight, his pace and that touch that was there before the World Cup just seems to be lacking that little bit for whatever reason. So you just hope, you want to give him a shot of adrenaline and say, look, mate, get yourself away. Come on. Put your head down. Get going. No, I think they've done it to us. Regardless of where we finish in the league, we're in a cup final, for God's sake.
Two things
like
on. Sorry.
No, go on, George.
Barry. If you had my eyes at the minute, you wouldn't want to be me, I tell you. Steve, 2 things on the fitness thing. The World Cup, it's not just our players that suffered. Manchester City had a player who went back to his club, and his manager wouldn't put him in the team because he wasn't fit enough. Well, what the hell was he doing for 6 weeks in the sunshine with England? He wouldn't even put him in the squad. So, and there's other players as well who don't seem to perform as well. So somebody needs to look at what they do out there. And the other thing I'd remind you of as well is that this squad, apart from the new ones that came in, Eddie Howe and his team inherited one of the most unfit Newcastle squads there's been in a long time. And that you don't get rid of that overnight. And when you've got rid of it and you're starting to play high press and all this sort of thing like they had been, it's bound to catch up with you a little bit. You get your second wind. But maybe that's what we're doing now, and we'll click back into form again in another couple of matches. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, lads, it's been a fantastic night. Some great points. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to all the moderators as well. But most importantly, thanks to George, to Darren, to Donald, to Alan, to Kevin, and to Barry. Thanks for taking part in the chat.
Good to see you, lads, and your dogs as well. Great.
You as well, George. Take care, lads. Take care.
Boys.
Thanks as always to our sponsors, Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website, skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to Blowhole Brewery. You can find them at blowholebrewery.co.uk. Beers brewed on the River Tyne. And thanks to United Group Travel Limited, UK Coach Holidays, based in Morpeth, telephone 01670 362 460 and mobile 07957 141 654. Graham, your driver, Beverly answering your calls, looking after you on your tour. Thanks also to 3 Property, who specialise in sourcing investment properties for their clients who are looking to invest in the North East. They offer a full in-house service from sourcing the deals to managing the properties for you. They've done over 100 plus deals in the past 12 months for clients all over the UK. Give the guys a follow on Instagram, matty.patter_northeast property and phil.reed_northeast property, or email phil@3property.co.uk if you're interested in getting a good property deal. Thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wales and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, nufcmatters.com. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the videos and the technology side of things. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button underneath the video today. Hit the thumb up to like the channel and click share to your social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and the rest. If you want to become a member, you pay a £25 one-off fee, and you can go to the website, nufcmatters.com, and find membership pack, or put your smartphone over the QR code and it will take you straight there. If you subscribe, we do give you a free car sticker. All you need to do is email John at nufcmatters.com and he'll post you one out. We also support the food bank on this channel, nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. You'll find the match day bucket where you can make a virtual donation. We've also got some events coming up over the next couple of months. First off, we've got an evening with Steve Howie at the Tyneside Irish Centre, Friday the 24th of February. Tickets are available from our website, nufcmatters.com, and they are priced £15, not $50, as you can see on the poster. An evening with Nobby Solano is also at the Tyneside Irish Centre, Saturday the 25th of March. Tickets are £15. Book now at nufcmatters.com. And an evening with Frank Clark and John Gibson, Thursday the 20th of April, again at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets are £15 and you book now at nufcmatters.com. Supermac and John Gibson will also be at Felling Cricket Club on the 16th of February. To buy tickets for that, contact the venue direct. We've got a whole host of t-shirts available from our website, nufcmatters.com. Gives you plenty of ideas for presents, for birthdays, anniversaries, you name it. Get your Anthony Gordon t-shirts and your Wembley t-shirts today.